Hello, class. Today is Monday, April 27th, 2020, and this is going to be our social studies lesson for the week. We are going to use clocks and calendars to measure time. Now, I know we've been learning about the clocks in math. We've been learning about the analog clock and the digital clock. We're going to go ahead and add the calendar into this week's activities, talk about how we use them to measure time. So let's go ahead and start off by reading our job together. I will use a clock and calendar to measure time. Let's think about this. We know this here is an analog clock, and we've already been talking about analog clocks and just clocks in general. And then we have a calendar here, and we have the May calendar. Now, this May calendar, we're going to talk about how we use a calendar to measure time. First, think about, how do we use clocks? Why do we need to use clocks? Well, how does that help us? And let's see here. How do we use clocks? How do they help us? Let's start right here. Well, I can think of one way. A clock, I use my alarm. So I use my alarm to help me make sure that I wake up on time to come to school. I use my alarm to wake me up on time to go to school. What else would we use a clock for? Can you think of something else? What else would we use that? Let's see. Can you think of another reason we would use a clock? I'm trying to move this up. So it's right there. There we go. Perfect. Okay. What else would we use a clock? So I think we just use a clock just to get us to where we need to be on time, right? So whether it's getting up to go to church or maybe going to a party. What about, how do we use a clock at school? How does that help us? What does it do to help us at school? Can you think about a way that we use a clock at school? I'm going to fix this because it's not wanting to work with me. Here we go. All right, how do we use a clock at school? I'm going to go back in here and type back in what I said I will. I use a clock as an alarm to wake me up for school. Think about at school, when we are at school, how do we use a clock? Well, I know many of you, when we're getting close to lunchtime, you look at the digital clock hanging on our wall and you remind me, Miss Castillo, it's almost time for lunch. So we use a clock at school to remind us for lunchtime. What other time do you use it for? When it's time to go to specials, for specials, and what else? Time for recess, and time to go home, right? So we can look at the clock and we can tell when it's time to go to work, when it's time to go to school, when it's time for lunch, for recess, all those things. So that helps us. So now we want to think about, that kind of tells us, that answers this question here, how do they help us? They help us keep us on time to do things, right? Because if we didn't have a clock, we might miss, we might go to lunch late. We might go to specials late, right? So it helps us by keeping us on time, right? So it helps us by keeping us on a schedule and on time. I'm running out of room here, but I think what I can do is I can make all of this wording just a little bit smaller so we can squeeze all our work in. I think that works, yeah. So help us by keeping us on a schedule and on time for things. Now we're going to talk about a calendar and how does a calendar, what do we use a calendar for and how they help us. Before we talk about that, we're going to come over here to our book in Epic that I want to read to you, and it's called How to Read Calendars and Clocks by Kate Conley. All right, let's get started. Tracking time. So imagine, close your eyes, imagine something that can fly without wings. It moves forward, but not backward. Once you lose it, you can't ever get it back. What could this amazing thing be? Time, of course. People use calendars and clocks to measure time. Clocks keep track of hours, minutes, and seconds. Calendars divide a year into months, weeks, and days. People rely on those tools every day. Calendars and clocks help people make plans and stick to schedules. We already kind of mentioned that, didn't we? Staying on a schedule, but it does also help for people to make plans. Okay, calendars and clocks come in many styles, but they all do the same thing. They keep people on time and organized. These simple tools bring order to everyday life. Using a calendar. People use calendars every day. Calendars are charts. They help people keep track of long periods of time. Each year has 365 days, 12 months, and 52 weeks. All calendars have basic information. They list the month and year. Calendars often have columns and rows. The days of the week are usually labeled at the top along the columns from left to right. The days of the week usually start with Sunday and end with Saturday. Each row in a calendar represents 1 week. There are about 4 weeks in 1 month. Each box in a calendar stands for 1 day. So 1 row is 1 week. And usually there's 4 months in a month. There's usually 4 weeks in a month. And each little box in the row represents 1 day. It stands for 1 day. The first day of the month is numbered with 1. Each month has between 28 and 31 days. The days are often numbered from left over to right and from top to bottom on a calendar. Okay, so some calendars, like this is an example of a calendar here, have other information too. They might list holidays such as New Year's Day or Halloween. Monthly calendars also might show the previous month and the next month in small print at the top or the bottom of the page. These features can help people use their calendars to plan events and stay organized. Written dates follow a special order. First, the month is written as a word. Then the day and year follow it as numbers. A comma separates the day and year. An example of this would be January 27th, 2020. Let's take a look at this calendar here. So normally you'll have the date up at the top of your calendar. If you remember our calendar at school, usually I have written up the count. It's the dry erase calendar, and we write the month there. They usually have the year, which we're in 2020. Then we have our days of the week. You see here it's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday across. And then we have our date. So if you notice, each little box going across has the date from left to right. You keep on going in numerical order all the way down. And we talked about that months have between 28 to 31 days. January has 31 days here. Within each little box, if there's a special day on that date, usually you see that here. January 1st is a holiday. It's New Year's Day. If we keep on going here, we know that January 15th is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. For 2018, the Monday here, January 15th with Martin Luther King. And then, of course, we can add special dates that pertain to our families and to our lives. For example, right here, guys, that would be Miss Castillo's birthday, January 16th, so I might have that written in here. And you may have other special days for you in January. So our calendars can look very similar if we have the holidays, but they can also be different because we may have certain days, special days that we mark on our calendar. Okay, another way to write the date is using only numbers. The month is written first according to its order in the year. For example, January is the first month of the year. It is often written as 01. Next are the day and the year. Each part of the date is separated by a slash. If you were to write the date January 27, 2020 as a number, it would be 01/27/2020. This is the way dates are written in the United States. Other countries may write dates using different systems, and we write it similar to this, but instead of the slashes, we put dashes, don't we? All right. In the past, all calendars were on paper. They usually hung on a wall in a home or an office. Today, people use electronic calendars too. They are often on smartphones, and this makes calendars easy to carry anywhere. Phone calendars can also send reminders so that you don't forget an event. So I'm looking at my phone and my smartphone, and on my smartphone, I have a calendar. And many of your moms and dads have this ability to, and it helps because you have your calendar on your phone, and you can do different things by going into a date, and you can set appointments like dentist appointments, doctor's appointments, any different kind of appointment. You can send a reminder. You can set that up on your phone to remind you a couple of days before that appointment. That's how I use my calendar on my phone. Now, we're going to stop here because we've already been talking about clocks for a couple of weeks now in math. So we're going to go back to our lesson. We're going to talk about what you're going to do. So we know that they help us by keeping us on a schedule, keeping us organized, reminding us of dates that are coming up. So let's go to our next page here. All right, what are some special days in May for you? I want you to enter those into your calendar. So when you go over into your Google Classroom into this assignment, this Monday assignment, you each are going to have your own calendar that looks just like this. So what you're going to do is you're going to come in here and you are going to input special days. Now we all know a really special day that is coming up, don't we? And that is Mother's Day. And Mother's Day is in May. I can't remember what day it is for this year, so I'm going to look it up real quick and then we're going to add it. Mother's Day for 2020 is Sunday, May 10th. So right here, guys. So what you're going to do is you can go into your chart and you can just start typing right there in your Google form. When you click on the box, it's going to open up a little box. So I'm just going to type here for Sunday, May 10th, Mother, and that's quite not small enough. But I'm just going to go in there and write it really small so that it fits. Mother's Day. Okay. Now you may have birthdays or special celebrations that are coming up in May. So you're going to make this your own calendar. Okay. You can start off by adding Mother's Day here and then add any other days here, guys. There are special days for you. Enter them into your calendar. You're going to hold on to this calendar for Wednesday. Wednesday, we're going to do some other things, and then you'll come back to your assignment for Monday, and you'll keep on adding any special days that you have for the month of May for this year. If you have any questions on how to do this or any questions on this lesson, please reach out to me, and I'm here to help you any way that I can. Have a great day, guys. Goodbye.